So, I'm going to be talking about the Vanguard reboot again. This isn't episode reviews, although this is going to be very similar in terms of how the video works to the episode reviews. I'm going to be talking about specifically the handling of UltraRare recently and the introduction of the main conflict of the Deleter's arc. For anyone wondering, I'm not going to be 100% negative here. There's some good stuff. Kinda. I feel like I want to start off by saying, and this isn't me like going on about how I was right all along or anything like this, but I do feel like over time more and more people are starting to realize that this reboot ain't that great. And I feel like that is the kind of thing that'll happen, right? I think that when the reboot is airing and everything, people are going to love it, but I feel like it's going to be one of those series that doesn't age particularly great. I feel like it's not going to be looked back on as fondly once it's finished. I can't say that for certain, but that's what I kind of think. I feel like right now people are still kind of in the whole, it's a manga adaptation, and it's new, and it's got new cards and stuff in. It's good, Whereas the one thing with these kinds of animes that is always there will always be the quality of writing. And so the more kind of time passes, the more that'll be a thing people realize, And I feel like this is one of those animes where if you binge it, the pacing issues make themselves more obvious. I don't know, like how in the original Vanguard, I don't think the pacing issues are anywhere near as bad in the original Vanguard if you binge watch it. But if you watched one episode of the original Vanguard every week as it was airing, I could definitely see why you'd feel like that anime goes nowhere. And the opposite kind of applies to this. I think if you watched an episode a week of this reboot, it probably feels like the pacing's fine. But if you binge watch it, you realize just how fast it's going. And I know that because I've been watching bits and pieces of the English dub here and there, and watching those back to back. And yeah, the pacing ain't great. Now we have gotten to where the plot of the Deleter's arc really kind of kicks in. Because we had the introduction episodes where we actually, introduced the characters individually and everything. And that stuff was pretty good for the most part. And now we've well and truly gotten to the part where the plot is really kicking in. And we had like an episode that really focused on UltraRare's origin story. And we had an episode focusing on like Koji Ibuki versus Takuto, and we had an episode with the Psyqualia zombies. Now, I know exactly what everyone thinks I'm gonna say about the Psyqualia zombies. One, it's Psyqualia. He probably thinks it's bad. Two, they're zombies. They're personalityless. They don't have any emotions. He probably doesn't like that either. Three, they're not having fun playing a card game. That means he hates that too. You're wrong. I kind of like the Psyqualia zombies, but because they're in Link Joker, except in Link Joker they're not Psyqualia zombies, they are Link Joker. I think the way it's done in Link Joker is better though, which is something people absolutely expect me to say, but I don't hate this most recent episode with the Psyqualia zombies. I think it's a fairly good episode. Here's the problem though. Pick this episode up, the one that just happened, and then move it 30 episodes later. Then I would really like this episode. But as it stands, I only kinda like it. I've got a bunch of notes, and my favorite of the notes is just the word pacing in capital letters. And that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier on. We don't get, I get the impression that this Vanguard reboot is in a hurry to just kind of end already. It's like, we just kind of want to go through the motions and then just kind of end. It seems like it's in a very big rush, and it's skipping out what most people would call filler episodes. But I feel like when it comes to something like Cardfight Vanguard, the filler is really what makes it work. The episodes in between of Aichi and his friends hanging out and having fun and learning lessons and being people, I think that's what makes Vanguard work. And I think it's what makes the stuff like Link Joker or the Psyqualia zombies work. Because the Psyqualia zombies are a really cool idea, right? Where characters get turned into these emotionless sort of vessels for the card game itself to kind of take its revenge, like these Planet Cray inhabitants to kind of take over and start attacking the real card fighters and taking over them and multiplying like a virus, and it's really cool. And what makes this interesting is the character dynamic, because you have these characters that were characters now being taken over, and now it's up to their friends to try and kind of defeat these lesser versions of people they really knew. There's a lot of really interesting dynamics here. And the cool thing is, the thing that really makes Link Joker work is because Vanguard has a massive, especially the original, like the actual original, had like a really massive cast of characters, even ones that only appeared for like an episode or two and then didn't really do anything. And so you just don't really feel much for them. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. But then Link Joker would have an episode, right, where you'd have like a character you absolutely love get like taken over by Link Joker. And then this character that you knew barely anything about, that only had a couple episodes worth of screen time, would burst in and challenge that person to a card fight, and immediately, like that, you would be rooting for the character you wouldn't usually be rooting for. It flips things on their head. For example, the best example of this is the Wrecker card fight that happens in the Link Joker arc, where basically Wrecker is challenged by Kamui, and Kamui bursts in and is like, hey, I'm gonna challenge you. And for some reason, I was rooting for Kamui to beat Wrecker. And the way they flip that on its head is so clever, and it makes for really interesting dynamics. Because of the reversible nature of Link Joker, it means that a win doesn't mean everything. So it's not like, oh, if they won, then Kamui would die or whatever, because then you'd know that Kamui would win. But at the same time, it's still enough of a setback that it would cause consequences, not just for those characters specifically, but for every character. And it was really well done and interesting. And the best part is that Link Joker didn't take away all of these characters' emotions. In fact, it exaggerated the characters' emotions. And so it made Wrecker into even more of a sarcastic piece of shit. And I love it. That's what makes Link Joker a really interesting arc. It's not the whole world-ending thing or anything like that. It's the idea that it really plays with these characters and this large cast of people in a way that makes sense and is super interesting and clever and subversive. And it works. Like when Miwa approaches Kai and is like, hey, you're probably Link Joker, right? I'm gonna beat you. That moment made me go, whoa, that's so fucking cool. And I'm not going to spoil what happens in that card fight, but what happens is even cooler. It's so good. It really gets you attached to these characters and really gets you loving them. And this episode, this most recent episode, gets so close because it does that stuff. But the problem is it misses out the part where they actually introduce these characters. Wrecker doesn't get anything before this point. She gets shoved into the UltraRare origin story, yes, but she doesn't get any standalone episodes. She doesn't get any time to actually really interact with the characters, or show off her deck, or show off her personality in any meaningful way. And that's the problem. Link Joker worked because you were invested in a lot of the characters, and even the characters you weren't invested in, you get even more invested in, right? Like you'd care about Naoki. When Naoki got challenged by a Link Joker inhabitant, you'd be like, oh shit, I really hope he doesn't lose. But this version of Naoki, I don't care, because he hasn't really been he hasn't been around for very long. And it's not that he hasn't been well written in this reboot so far. In fact, quite the opposite. He's one of the better written characters in this reboot. He certainly does feel like the original Naoki, but we haven't had the episode when Naoki and Aichi go on a school field trip together, you know? We haven't had the episode where this happens or that happens. We haven't had the dumb, meaningless, short tournaments and the bonding time for these characters to get to know each other or anything like this. And especially Corrin. Corrin is something they focus on a lot in this reboot and go, ooh, you know, she's trying to fight back against the Psyqualia zombiness or whatever. You know, she's trying to fight against that. She's trying to still retain a human aspect of herself and everything. And that would be cool, but I would care far more if we actually cared about Corrin, because there's a similar episode to this in the original where Corrin realizes what's happening to her and she's trying to kind of fight against it, and she only really wants to be with Aichi and her friends, but she can't, and it's great because you know what's gonna happen. It's so good. Seriously, Link Joker is like my second favorite anime of all time. Like Link Joker on its own, it's such a good arc. It's so good. And the problem is, this reboot version of this arc isn't awful. It's very competent, actually. It's way better than the other arcs of the reboot so far. But the problem is, it's still not as good as the original. And I get that. And it may be unfair to compare it, but why make it so similar if you're just gonna rush through it and take out the parts that really make it work. I don't get it. And I get it. If you're someone that's mainly just into the card game, then just seeing these new decks get used in the anime is cool. I liked seeing Rekka's Neo Nectar deck. That was neat. I would have liked to see her, have a chance to use it properly before she got turned into a Psyqualia zombie. But oh well. And I could be really pedantic and point out, like, if Rekka and Emmy don't go to the same school anymore, then isn't it a bit of a coincidence that they run into each other and become friends instantly? Because it's really rushed and dumb, but I don't really mind that much, because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, it's indicative of a lot of the problems of this reboot. It just doesn't care that much. And I know what you're thinking. That's not the point, because I know what they're doing, right? The Psyqualia zombiness stuff isn't really supposed to be the main pull of the arc. Hell, it's called the Deleter's arc. It's not called the Psyqualia zombie arc. Koji Ibuki is supposed to be where this arc gets interesting, and I'll admit, it might. I don't know yet, because we're still very early on in this arc, but maybe, because I like this idea. I've always liked the idea of having two different main villains for an arc that are still kind of at odds with each other. So it's kind of like a triangle. You've got, Aichi and the others, but then you've got like Takuto up here, and Takuto's fighting Aichi. But then you've also got Koji Ibuki, and, Aichi's fighting Koji Ibuki, but then, Koji Ibuki's fighting Takuto. I really like this. I like it when there's like kind of more than one faction. This is something Kamen Rider does a lot. And I really like that kind of thing. And maybe it'll go well. I don't know. It is kind of shitty that Koji Ibuki beats Takuto, and because of that, all of UltraRare turn into Psyqualia zombies. And yes, you'll know that I'm about to point out it is pretty shitty that right after I made a video saying that I really like that UltraRare mysterious and don't have their entire thing and origin and everything explained. We don't know what's going on with UltraRare. That makes them really cool because they have this mysterious presence to them while they're always in a empty card shop, etc, etc. And this anime goes out of its way to give an origin story. But honestly, all things considered, it's not a bad origin story. It's not bad. I mean, it's not particularly great, but it's not bad. I could see them doing interesting things with this. Too bad, right after we get this origin story, they instantly get turned into Psyqualia zombies. Whoops. They could have had some interesting stuff there. Like, maybe Korin's fight couldn't be, maybe instead of having Korin fighting against the fact that she's a Psyqualia zombie, because we've already done that in the Link Joker arc, maybe we could have Korin fight against the idea that she's from Planet Curry to begin with. Maybe she's like, oh, I'm not human, that's weird. And she kind of shuts herself off because of that and everything. And Aichi and the others are like, we don't care that you're not human. As long as you don't go around electrocuting people, we don't care. That would be cool. There's a lot of stuff you could explore with that. And I wouldn't mind giving UltraRare a new origin story and all this other stuff if they were actually going to do interesting things with it. But unfortunately, they turn UltraRare into Psyqualia zombies immediately after this happens. Like I said, take this most recent episode, push it back 30 episodes. Seriously, that's all I'm asking. This would fix basically all my problems with the Deleter's arc so far, but unfortunately not. And again, the origin story is not bad. I really like the gnome, I think is Takuto's brother. I love when Takuto gets turned into a Diff Rider or whatever when his dad dies. Gnome's only reaction is, haha, fuck yes, I'm not the Diff Rider. That was great. That was really good. I don't know if that was supposed to be funny, but it worked. It was funny. I like that scene. I like the idea that Gnome just disappears. I like the idea that Takuto has to just fucking live with this shit. There's a lot to like here. There's some really good stuff. Unfortunately, none of it gets dwelled upon. None of it really gets the development it needs. And it could in future, I guess, but now that Takuto and UltraRare have gone all evil, it doesn't seem very likely. I guess we'll see. I'm very kind of out of breath because I'm sort of excited because all this reboot and especially these most recent episodes have made me want to do is just watch Link Joker. I kind of just want to watch Link Joker now. To anyone going, well, this reboot doesn't stop the original from existing, you're right. It doesn't. It doesn't make the reboot any better, but you're right. I can still totally go back and watch the original Link Joker. I would say I'm a bit more excited now because at the very least, even if we're doing a worse version of a good arc, it's still at least good. What they're leading up to is still interesting. Even if it's a less interesting version of the concept we've already done, it's still inherently interesting, even if it's stripped down and boring. I know that what I just said makes no sense, but whatever. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to kind of see what's going to happen. And so maybe these episodes were better than I thought they were, because they were honestly that good. They honestly weren't that bad, because I saw people on Twitter going on about how like bad this most recent episode was and everything, and I watched it and I was like pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, this isn't bad. Like, you know, I mean, it's not great. It's not bad though. It was exciting. It was interesting. They skipped past all the card fights because fucking kill me, I guess. I mean, is it really too much to ask at this point for this fucking card game advert to actually show a card fight? I mean, I gotta give them some credit though. I did hear that the Kyo Yahagi versus Rekka card fight got skipped entirely in the manga, and they actually did show a bit more of it this time in the anime, so I guess that's something. Does the manga just hate Rekka? Because, like, up to this point, Rekka's, like, the only member of Ultra that hasn't had, like, a proper card fight or introduction yet. And she's also the one where even her card fight, once she does get turned into a Psyqualia zombie, gets skipped. So I'm starting to think the manga artist just doesn't like Rekka that much, which I guess that's fair enough. It is a bit weird. And again, this is more kind of, like, nitpicky, I guess. It is a little weird that Aichi and the others just kind of spend this episode sitting around going, hey, it's weird that Corin started screaming and running away and she looks really bad and sick and everything, and also somehow at the exact same time the exact same thing happened to Rekka. But nah, I'm sure it's fine. None of us can be bothered to go see Corin and actually see if she's okay. Nah, fuck it. I mean, again, the Link Joker arc did a similar thing where it kind of played that for, like, laughs. The idea that Aichi is by far the strongest card fighter, but right now his biggest problem is obliviousness. Like, he is really strong and he could probably solve the situation almost instantly, but at the same time he's oblivious and doesn't even know what's happening. I like that. Though that's the most recent few episodes of the Cardfight Vanguard reboot. My opinion is rising again, because I'm interested to see what they do. It's also rising because we're near the end, right? That's another reason why my opinion is kind of rising, because we gotta be getting near the end now. I can't imagine this reboot being any longer than 70 episodes, maybe 60. So we're getting pretty close to the end now, which is, thank God, honestly. Unless they decide to add filler after they've caught up with the manga, which I hope they don't. I hope we move on to something else entirely once we catch up with the manga, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's my kind of jumbled, exasperated thoughts on the most recent episodes of Vanguard, and more specifically, the introduction of the Psyqualia zombies and UltraRare's new origin story.